What is up, everybody? It's the Big Goose back at you with my co-host, Baconater. Say hi.
Hello, everybody, and I am excited to be back for Season 4.
It is so nice to be back, and as you can tell by my truly dapper attire, I am postured and ready to go.
I was just picked up off the streets.
Yes, yeah. Baconator's been here for like 3 minutes. I did all the actual work. No, that's not true. It's not true. So yeah, we're back with Season 4 and our second season of video power rankings done by us and not by a weird man-child. You want to just jump right into this because we have a lot to cover?
Sure.
Okay. How about you talk about the criteria we'll be using?
Yeah, some of this criteria is new, and you'll see the new format for all the returning players when you watch. So we have hazard removal, hazard setting, low tier utility, type diversity. Your fire, water, grass scores will be judged, and they will come into play. Pokemon multidimensionality, so your Pokemon can do more than one thing. Physical special balance, pretty self-explanatory. Fighting Psychic Dark Core, a secondary core but important nonetheless. Offensive defensive balance. And Special Sauce, which is for special things me and Goose like about your team.
Yeah.
Or dislike. You can lose points, but no one got negative sauce points.
Yeah, I don't think... You can't really get 0 points on any of these. So... The idea is it's very hard to get a 10, very hard to get a 1, so we're playing towards that median. And everything is ranked out of 10 for a total of 100 points. And you'll see your score on the bottom right. And let's just jump right into it.
Sounds good to me.
Number 16 is Wolfhaley. Would you like to talk about a little bit about what the problems are here?
Well, immediately what jumps out to you is the just abhorrent hazard game, both removal and setting it up.
Mm-hmm.
You really just can't remove. What are you going to do? Pick a peck?
Yeah,
Spearow? You've got nothing there. Your setting game is Sandile, Turtwig, really. It's just really weak. Very good low tiers, the high point of your team. I'm pretty happy with what you picked there. You did a quite good job. With the only exception really being Pansear to drag down the score a little.
Yep.
Diversity, mediocre. Got some overlap. I have 3 normal types.
Yeah. The main problematic doubling has to go with Gothita and Ponyta G, I think. And I think my co-host would agree, but also the triple normal types doesn't help. Fire, water, grass core-wise, there's Frillish Larvesto, which is a strong duo, alongside Turtwig. It's not bad. It's not ideal for sure. Your multidimensionality, pardon me, is actually pretty good. If you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, Ponyta G can run both physical and special sets. Its move pool does leave a little bit to be desired, and it would be better if it was part fairy like its evolution, but it's still very versatile. Frillish, not the greatest, like, multi-dimensional, but it's a very good overall Pokemon. You love to see Impidimp, Gothita, one-dimensional, but not, like, in a bad way. It's very good at trapping. Sandile has 2 fantastic sets, Intimidate and Moxie, and you'll have to see that.
Physical special balance-wise was another problem here. There's a very heavy physical bias here. Other than Gothita and certain Ponyta G sets, you're really physical. Munchlax, Larvesta, Clobopus, Jangmo-o, Pikipek, Impidimp, Turtwig, Sandile, Spearow, for God's sake. I mean, your special attackers are like Frillish. Pansear.
And then certain Ponyta Gs.
And Gothita. Gothita's
Gothita, yes.
what really saves that score from being a flat out like 2.
And the one big confusing thing about this team is Gothita and Ponyta G, 2 pure psychics when knockoff is running rampant.
Oh yeah. And this team in general does not like knockoff. Frillish also hates knockoff. Larvesta, if you're running boots, God forbid, because you need to because of item clause or whatever, does not appreciate knockoff. You just don't. Knockoff is so important, and this team hates it.
But I do think if you either switch out Ponyta G for a different tier 1, you don't have a lot of options. I think it is just Clamperl and Yanma right now are your options for when Grace Period starts. But what you probably actually want to do is to switch out Gothita instead. Plenty of good options.
It sucks because Gothita is like most of your is like your sauce. It's your uniqueness. It's awkward. It's so awkward, and that's kind of the general theme here. There's a lot of awkward clunkiness. It's not bad. I wouldn't call this team bad. Honestly.
Yeah, I would drop Gothita for coughing. I think that would bring you a lot of mileage. And it would just make your team better.
Counter to fighting types.
It would just it'd certainly help. It'd be a start.
Oh yeah. Otherwise, what is ODB?
Offensive, defensive. Mr. Goose.
Defensive. Yes, this team does not have much in the way of bulk. It's
certainly not. And that's what coughing would do.
So hard on that Frillish. I mean, that jellyfish is gonna buckle.
If Gothita was switched out for coughing, this team could easily, I think, probably move itself out of dead last.
Probably.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, actually, it would so for sure. Yeah.
And it does not help that everything else is. Yeah, let's move on because we have 15 more teams to go. Jesus. I'll lead on this one. DonutCat with a final grade of 44, just skirting 1 point ahead of Wolfhaley, although notably has no 1 points, but just has a general sort of mediocre across the board. And I think something that was telling was while we were making this, I remember saying, this team all around is like a 4.
And it really is. And it's actually much more of a 3 with the amounts.
There's a couple things it does well. And I'll go over those real quick. The Fighting Psychic Dark Core is good. Legitimately. Crabrawler Inkay Poniard is quite good. And the physical special balance is pretty reasonable. You've got, for special attackers, Drifloon, Poplio, Budew, Salandit, which is a very reasonable slate. But as you can see with our scores, everything else is either a 3, a 4, or a 5.
Yeah, I mean, with the hazards, you have a hazard game, which is more than what the previous coach had. But it's still not good. Your removal is Drifloon and Fletchling, which it's just not good. Like, come on. But
your setter is better.
Yeah, it's better. You've got Poniard. They can set rocks. I'm not saying it should, but constantly. But yeah. But who gets spikes and Swinub also gets rocks.
Yeah. So, again, that's not bad. It's not awful. But that becomes the theme as you go along. If everything kind of feels like your lower tier utility. For Brawler, Budew, Fletchling. Crabrawler's quite good. Budew and Fletchling are alright. Swinub, Poplio, EV are alright. Snom is basically unusable, which kind of pulls down the value that Crabrawler was adding. And you're just end up with this alright to sort of below average. And that's not great.
My recommendation for Donut would be to drop Drifloon and exchange it for Clamperl. Because your Firewater Grass, it's a 4, and that's might be the worst grade for a firewater grass we have, or one of the worst.
The issue with doing that is then you have basically no removal.
Driftwood really is it going to be defogging that much? And then what you should instead do is look into trading in maybe Salandit or Lickitung, or just trading with somebody. I'm sure someone would want a Lickitung. Yeah, it doesn't make sense on this team. Maybe even getting rid of NK for Wingull would be something you could do.
Although just something. Again, it feels awkward, but this team is kind of built up on straws in that you pull out Lickitung, then you have no backbone. It's precarious.
You've kind of built yourself into a corner, and you might need to trade with other people to get out of it.
Yeah, you really don't want to be at the point where you feel like you can't drop or move Pokemon that are legitimately not good for what you're doing because they are a load-bearing structure. And so many Pokemon here feel awkwardly load-bearing. I think this team has less mobility than Wolfhaley, and I would be surprised if Wolfhaley is still behind this team by the end of grades. Let's move on to number 14 and get a little bit out of the darkness. Moving up 4 points, we've got Billette. Significantly better score docket here. Even those 3 points, they really do matter. The main thing here is the hazard game. So much better than the last two.
Yeah, the removal, it's not fantastic, but it's certainly not bad. I mean, Drillbur's a very good remover.
Drillbur on his own is decent removal. Then Cutiefly gets defog. Talo technically gets defog. There you go. You have a solid 5 hazard removal. Not great, not bad. Nah. But then your hazard setting, quite good. Drillbur, Tortuga, Larvitar all get rocks. And Cutiefly gets webs. And webs, I cannot overstate how important and how powerful webs are. They literally got banned from Little Cup. Not our Little Cup, like the Smogon tier. They are so good.
That's right, they did. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Huh.
And they're fantastic with, like, Tortuga being able to outspeed Choice Scarfers. That's huge.
Oh, that's dirty.
Like, after a Shell Smash, like, there's a very real possibility. I'm looking at this team. I see Tortuga. I think, okay, he's going to Shell Smash. I need a Choice Scarfer that can outspeed him after the Shell Smash. Perfectly reasonable thing that I could definitely set up. Oh no, there's fucking webs. And now I'm just swept by this Tortuga. I mean, that's just one case. Webs are huge, and Cutiefly is a fantastic web setter. I don't think it's the best web setter. I think it is one of the best Pokemon that gets webs. I think the best web setter is probably Dewpider, just because it has the bulk to back it up. Another glaring issue with this team, the biggest one, these low-tier Mons are bad.
Yeah, they definitely dragged down the team quite a lot. Probably could have been a couple spots higher. Maybe one, but could have been 2 with some better low tiers.
This team feels very crystallized on Cutiefly, Apom, Zorua, Pumpkaboo, Drillbur, Tortuga. That's your Pokemon. And then your wiggle room, once you're trying to get out of your comfort zone, find some new Pokemon, oh shit, my next best option is fucking L-Gem. I mean, it's like, all of these tier 4s feel below average for tier 4. And all of these tier 5s feel below average for tier 5, maybe excluding Talo. And then there's Wurmple.
Yeah.
Who is legitimately one of the worst Pokemon.
And sadly, not even funny as a meme pick.
Yeah, it's not a good meme. It's not a Cosmog. It's not a Snom. It's not a Magikarp. It's just Wurmple. And like he told me, it was a meme pick. You could have done better.
I didn't know that. But yeah, that's just a little unfortunate. And yeah, the offensive defensive is stated it's pretty bad. It's hyper offense at this point.
Awful. Yeah, that's another thing. Pumpkaboo is your bulk.
Yeah. I had to give this team advice, saying maybe drop Apom.
I would just gut your low tiers for anything of value.
Yeah, got the low tiers. Look,
I'm sure
maybe dropping. Maybe drop Apom for coughing, but then we don't need to start a fight over coughing. It's first come first serve when Grace starts.
Coughing is one of the best tier 2s.
I can't believe it's free right now.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Or an option, well, you've already got a ground, but this man, pick up Hippopotas. You've got some sand.
Ooh, yeah, Drillbur gets Sand Rush, right?
It does. And Tortuga gets the boost.
Especially bulky. Yeah.
All I'm saying, drop Apom, pick up the Hippo.
Zora was kind of bad in sand too, notably.
Yeah, but Zorua can be dropped. Zorua can be traded, can be dropped. Noticeably, Darumaka is available, and your fire type is trash.
Yeah, gut your tier 4, gut your tier 5. I'm sure there might be something. There's probably something that synergizes with sand in the lower tiers.
Oh, almost definitely. You just got to find it, and then you're set.
Angle into this. Drillbur could end up being either a Stealth Rock Rapid Spin bouncer around Earthquake spammer, or you can do a Sand Rush set with Swords Dance that they switch out into a Ghost type on your Rapid Spin. Now your Swords danced up in the sand, and their entire fucking team is dead. I mean, it's as simple as that. There's little things, and honestly, of all of the low tiers, this might be the worst one. So look for those changes. And if you look at these last 3 teams, you'll notice 2 of them are new players, and one of them came in like halfway through season 3 and has never done a draft with us before. And that makes sense. These people don't have as much experience, and we're trying to give you the tools to try and work better forward. We're not trying to pick on you.
Yeah. Everyone's competing here. Obviously Goose not competing this season, but I am. But I want to give everyone some help. We want the most like competitive skill-wise battles that we can. Like, we want everyone to feel like they have a fair chance every week.
Yeah, because the LGL has had some incredible battles because we have helped each other and we support each other every week and we give advice to one another, and that creates a more interesting competitive environment. And now that I'm on an outsider perspective, I think I'm in an even better, more unique position to just give objective opinions. And I'll make sure Baconater doesn't shit on people. But I'm saying, welcome to our community. Here's what you can do better. You've got some things here. You've got some issues. You've got some pros. I think that was an important tangent to go on. But we do need to move on. Let's go to number 13, which is Kyber, who is the highest ranked of our 3 people that are new this season that we were not already tangentially aware of. I've known Sargs and Garret are also new, but I've known them from other things, and Garret has actually participated in an event here before, so kind of not new. Tangent aside, Kyber was actually the first team we graded and kind of served as a launching point. And this serves as the perfect team that has deeply mediocre hazard game. You want to talk about it, Bacon?
Sure. Your removal if Mantike got defog, your removal would be solid and probably a 5 or a 6. But your problem is, Shelter, do you really want it rapid spinning when it's got that sweet Shell Smash? Like, granted, you do have a sweeper. You've got Zigzagoon, but Zigzagoon's not the best. But Shelter's very solid. Yeah. It doesn't spin around.
Otherwise, you have Rookity.
But your hazard setting, Trubbish, fantastic setter. Just
Trubbish
really good.
5 points on its own.
Yeah. And then Chespin gets spikes and Golett gets rocks. And, you know, they're your lower tiers. They're going to be really trying to fight for a spot. Golett probably the best low tier you have.
Yeah.
But overall, a very solid low tier pickup from Kyber.
Oh, yeah, these low tiers look good. Well, I don't know if that was your scene. I'm not trying to shove words in your mouth, but...
Oh, no, we gave him a 7. He did a very good draft on his low tiers.
I like these low tiers. This tier 3s are like the tier 4s, I mean, are the quintessential solid tier 4, I think. They're good. They don't overlap too much. The tier 5s are a little bit of a drop-off, and Rookity is whatever. But all around, solid low tiers, solid type diversity. The doubling is like just Shelter and Mantike is the only notable one. There's also like Rookity and Mantike. Who gives a shit? The Firewater Grass is solid. Scorbunny, Shelter, and Chespin. It's alright. Then it kind of started to falter. These early things were doing alright. You want to talk about dimensionality?
Yeah, Scorbunny, it's got Libeer and everything, but it generally is one-dimensional. It's an all-out attacker. Shelter, Shell Smash, or defensive. Both decent sets. Dratini, Solosis, both pretty one-dimensional. Dratini with a couple different things it could do. Like, it can run special. Yeah, but it's mostly just a Dragon Dance with extreme speed.
Yeah.
Mantike, Flabebe, both especially defensive, but Flabebe can probably do some different things. It could Calm Mind and it could Wish, but Mantike just can't do it.
Flabebe is one of the most diverse on this team. Which is not a
yeah, and Zigzagoon, it's just one thing.
It literally has you have to run Belly Drum extreme speed and basically Thief Seed Bomb.
Yeah, remember,
that's the move.
Galarian Zigzagoon is tier 6 because it doesn't get extreme speed and Belly Drum and all that.
Yeah.
Just remember that.
And if I could inject a little bit of wisdom, always double check your Zigzagoon's HP EVs. If it tries to give you odd HP EVs, you will weep.
Yeah. If you always want with Belly Drummers. It happened to me last season, but with Swirlix, I made a mistake during my build. And I went with the auto set, and I was like, yeah, that's good, but no. It was 25, not 24.
Showdown is stupid about that sometimes.
Yeah, be very careful. But let's see. Things I would recommend for you to possibly drop Zigzag. Well, maybe pick up a Coughing. No, don't pick up Coughing. He's already got Trubbish. No, he's already got Trubbish.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. No, what you probably want, might be a Metatite. Get rid of Solosis. It's a bit slow. It's not great. Metatite could use a good fighter.
That is another thing this team is lacking, is an actual fighting type. Scorbunny gets high jump kick, Libero, shut up. There is no actual fighting type. You want a fighting type. Scorbunny does a fine impression of a fighting type for now.
Yeah. And then, probably drop Solosis, pick up something like Aeron. Get some hazards, get a good sturdy juice. It's solid, or you could trade it. I know that there's some people looking for psychic types.
Solosis could be a very hot commodity right now.
Indeed.
Let's move on to number 12. And I believe that's our good friend Hydreigon, our first person to break 50. So this is a team kind of like DonutCat that rather than feeling like a team that is inherently a 4, this is more of a team that feels like a 5. Just across the board, it's kind of a 5, maybe a 6.
Yeah. It averages out just over 5.
Yeah. Well, that is, if you divide the final grade by 10, that'll give you your average score.
That's correct.
So, hazard game, your removal is Vullaby and Noibat. But Vullaby is
fantastic.
You're gonna hear this a lot of this. Vullaby is good, and so you get points. Vullaby checks so many boxes on its own that it's kind of comical. If this team didn't have a Vullaby, it could very well be like a DonutCat. 4s. But I digress. Hazard setting is Dwebble and Diglett A. Rocks on Diglett A is deeply inconsistent, I can tell you from Season 2 experience. All around, your hazard game is limited but powerful, is what I'd say. You have very good hazard players, but one of them, which is why you're limited. Low tier is kind of problematic. I want to talk about this Hail Core, because I kind of hate it, but I also kind of love it. So Snover kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It is quad weak to fire. It's weak to rock, which isn't great. I don't think... Does grass resist rock?
It does not.
Okay, it is weak to rock, which is deeply problematic. And Cubchoo is substantially worse than Sandshrew A as a Hail Sweeper. And so your Hail Core feels like a dull imitation of a Hail Core. But it's also just 2 slots on your low tiers, which is kind of incredible value.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah, and it's something you have to build against every week. Like, you cannot just ignore it. Because if Hydreigon were to build it properly and have some good pieces around it, it could really just punch a hole in your team that can't be repaired for when Porygon comes in and cleans you up.
Or Magby.
Or Magby. It's really anything.
Yeah. A fucking Choice Specs Noibat hitting Draco Meteor a couple times.
Notably good offensive-defensive balance. Probably the best we've seen so far.
Yeah. There's a lot of good offensive defense. Your top 3 Pokemon in Chinchou, so really your top 4, Vullaby, Chinchou, Porygon, Dwebble. That and Magby, I'll throw Magby in. Those 5 are so rock solid that it intensely makes up for a lot of the other weaknesses. Minccino is an okay tier 3, and then you have the Hail Core, and then everything else is whatever, honestly.
If I were you, I would definitely drop Minccino. You've already got Porygon. I would drop Minccino for Galarian Slowpoke. And add Psychic to your team, since you're fighting Psychic. Dark is literally Vullaby. And it would give you some good bulk, which I think your team could use a bit more of. It's not terribly frail or anything, but it might push it up. It would push it up from like that 8 to probably about a 10. Maybe just a 9 for now, but I think it would help. Plus, it doesn't get Regenerator, I don't think, but it could get a couple useful abilities.
I think it does get Regenerator. It's just it's in a water type, which is problematic. For a
It does. It does. It loses Regenerator upon evolution, I think.
Yeah.
For a different ability. Yeah, for
No,
quick
it does.
draw.
It has Regenerator. Galarian Slowking has Regenerator, at least.
Oh, yeah, it probably does. It's just Galarian Slowbro's bad. So.
I think Sobble is a joke. You have a Chinchou. Why in God's
Sobble.
name are you using a Sobble? And Magikarp's a joke. But I think that was intentional. Haha, Magikarp, lol, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, but if you were to drop Mincino for Slowpoke Galar, you'd probably gain an extra 4 points or so, which would push you up a good amount in the rankings.
And I think you could probably shove the Duskull and the Diglett.
Yeah.
They're not important. Restructuring, trading, there's some work that could be done here, but God, Vullaby, Porygon, Dwebble, Chinchou, Magby is so solid that you, as long as you keep that and probably the Hail Core, go on in confidence, is what I'll say. Just don't ditch what makes this team what it is. Don't overtrade just because you're in 12th.
Yeah.
A light touch. Let's move on to number 11. Which is Jamal of the Detroit Obamians. So, hazard removal is Archer and Roly-Coly.
And Bone Sweet.
And my homie Bone Sweet.
And Kabuto.
And Kabuto. There's a lot of removal here, but they're all pretty low tier.
And Archer, if you're running Defog, you're losing a big part of your team for physical offense.
Generally, Archon running Defog is giving up its U-turn slot. Or one of its stabs. You don't want to lose any of that at all. Being able to spam U-turn with your Archon is so quintessential, and being able to press Rock Blast or Acrobatics after you've used your Berry Juice is quintessential. You hear me? Quintessential. Otherwise, the hazard setting's pretty good. Archon and Bronzor both get rocks. Unfortunately, Joltik doesn't get webs, but, you know, it would be insane if it did.
Yep.
Roly-Coly gets rocks and spikes.
Kipple gets rocks, and Kabuto also gets rocks, I believe.
Yes.
So a lot of setting options.
I like these low tiers in general.
Very good low tiers.
Gibble is a good offensive tier 4 core. Togepi Roly-Coly is solid. And Bone Sweet rocks!
The jury's out on that one.
I'm telling you, Bone Sweet's the next Togepi.
Whatever you said. But he's got the actual Togepi.
He also does have Togepi. These low tiers are just good. And the type diversity is solid. The Firewater Grass Core. Shellos, Bulbasaur, Vulpix. Shoving in, just mashing in that beautiful little Firewater Grass. Melts like butter. What was I saying? Another issue is dimensionality.
Yeah, a lot of these Pokemon, they do one thing. They may do their one thing good, but they just do one thing. And when you're running weather, one-dimensional is, in a way, almost an inevitability.
Yes. You're just very reliant on bombers and tanks. Bombers and walls. Otherwise, your fighting Psychic Dark is also basically non-existent. Hi, Bronzor. How are you doing, Bronzor? Are you having a nice day, Bronzor? I love you, Bronzor.
And something that should be noted is that your defensive core of Bronzor Shellos is awful in Sun.
Yes. Unless you run heat-proof Bronzor.
But then now it's just 1 times a week. Or it's just 2 times now in Sun.
Okay, so I actually run heat-proof Bronzor, and here's why. Nobody uses Earthquake against a Bronzor because they assume it has Levitate, but heat-proof doesn't have a little message. So they just assume that I tank fire-type attacks better than they expected. Heat-proof Bronzor's secret tech, I should say.
And now it's no longer secret but if you're not, maybe no one else other than Jamal watched his part, Might still be secret for you, Jamal.
Archin's also very good in Sun, because Sun helps it take water hits.
That is correct.
And if you take the hit and then get knocked down to the berry juice, you stay out of Defeatist and activate Acrobatics. So there's good synergy here. There's good pieces here. Just a couple things feel stunted. Particularly your defensive core isn't great in Sun, although, the fire moves, Shellos taking a little extra damage from fire moves shouldn't be a huge deal.
But people could decide to run Solar Beam against him, which could be a problem on some rolls and some damage calcs.
All around, I think this and Hydreigon are a very distinct quality jump from the teams before. But honestly, this team feels, even that 1 point, I think it's a tier. I think Hydreigon's kind of a tier of his own. Jamal feels like a step more polished.
I think if he can find some removal some way, maybe trading a piece away in exchange for some removal, it might be a benefit.
Some competent removal, we should say.
Yeah.
Other than my boy Bon Sweet, but yeah. Let's jump over to number 10. Number 10. Geiser. So.
Last year's #1 post-draft power ranking team.
Drops to number 10 with a shockingly similar team, I should mention. Vulpix, Alola, Stuffle, Abra, and Sandshrew. Made up the core last year, made up the core this year. The difference is, this year, it also, I think a big part of it is the competition is more harsh. I think this year's teams are just legitimately stronger than last year's teams.
I would definitely agree. Oh yeah, 100%.
And on top of that, it lost a bit of its soul. Which sounds dramatic. And by soul, I mean low tier. Other than Sandshrew and Why Not, your low tier is just disappointing. And that's a huge part of this. Chimchar's alright.
It does hurt with... Sandshrew did get buffed up from tier 5 to tier 4. Deservingly so. The alone Sandshrew got moved up.
It got moved up for a reason. And that reason was you guys are...
Tier 5s are a bit rough. And maybe you can find something a bit different. Maybe you can pull up some Trico cheese with Unburden. But
it's possible I am underrating some of these tier 5s. Maybe Tyrogue does more work than it has done in the past. Maybe Shuppet shows itself valuable. Maybe Igglybuff is this year's Togepi. I'd be surprised. And also, I can't help but feel like it just feels more crystallized here. Whereas last year it felt like it was a Hail team through and through, flowing in all its pieces. Now it just feels like Vulpix, Sandshrew, Abra is a Hail trio, and then there's a lot of swirling kind of mess in between in your core. And that core is strong enough, and you have strong pieces like Tentacool, Stuffle, Cubone, Tyrant, Why Not, that it kind of gels together in all of it. Another thing holding you back? Multidimensionality. Once again, these Pokemon don't do much other than their shtick. Vulpix does its shtick. Sandshrew does its shtick. Shtick. Shtick.
Another one where it's just an unfortunate expectation of weather that is just not going to be terribly multidimensional.
That's true. And I think a lot of the dimensions should be coming from these low tiers. And that's a lot of what this is losing, is I want low tiers that bring a couple things to the table. And these low tiers don't feel like they bring many things to the table. Shuppet just being like a physical attacker feels bad. Just hard bad. Also, this team has no backbone. Like,
I still think you underrate Stuffle's defensive utility.
Stuffle has some defensive utility. Tentacool has specially defensive utility. And then there's Why-Not.
Oh, and then there's Tyrant.
Are you gonna argue to me that Tyrant provides significant defensive utility?
I will constantly argue to you that Sturdy Juice is an effective defensive tactic. No matter how much you refuse to call it offensive.
Is inherently proactive.
I think it's a defensive turned offensive tactic.
Sturdy Juice only works if you are a proactor. Switching in with a Sturdy Juicer and then not getting knocked down to 50% sucks. Or eating up your berry juice on the switch in sucks. It is inherently proactive.
You can just run a Violate Tyrant.
Yeah! That's one way to use a Tyrant. My dog didn't like that I clapped. All that said, this team is also not bad. You still have strong pieces. It just feels like it's a slurry of pieces. And it's slurred in with some mediocrity. And then it's glooped onto a plate, so you got a little piece of filet mignon in your porridge.
Delicious.
I don't know what the fuck that analogy was. But sure.
I think it's time to move on.
Mm-hmm. Number 9, we've got Pratyush. Is this our first 9?
I believe so. I noticed that. It kind of just stuck out.
And it's in type diversity. So let's start with if you notice something, nobody has good hazard game other than Billette. Billette can kind of set hazards. No one in this lower half has good hazard, has above average hazard game. Especially if you combine the two categories. And it doesn't stop here. So much of this team's hazard game is lying in this one little bug. This little bug right here. This Anorith, you see? He is holding this big boulder that says, all my hazard game. And his little bug arms, they're shaky. And he's gonna get squished. That's not entirely true. There's also Pidove with Defog. Fampy, which can set rocks.
But cannot spin, notably.
Yes, Fampy cannot spin. Q-Fant can hit rocks.
But it is really better as a life orb or a Scarfer.
Yeah. You want to be attacking with your Q-Fant, let's be honest here. So the hazard game is weak, except Anorith, who has spin and rocks. And it's a little bug holding all the hazards. Squish. Lower tier utility is good. I think my co-host gives a little bit more shit than Sizzlipede deserves. It does have a quad weakness to rock, which sucks. And you do not really have enough hazard removal to really back it up. But if you can get it in When there are no hazards or get it in for like one big hit, it does have value. Riolu, the tier 4 fighting types all have significant value. It's probably the worst. It just doesn't have much unique going on. Smoochum's alright. Remoraid Blitzel, I think, stands out as a solid tier 5.
I think that's probably the best tier 5 pickups we've seen so far.
Yeah. Remoraid's weird. Like, we were having a tangent, like, and it's like, we spent like 4 hours making this. And a solid like 3 minutes of those 4 hours were me just listing off the weird-ass moves Remoraid learns. Could you, like, pull up Remoraid's move pool?
Gladly.
A 1 minute tangent.
At him. Weird. I'm just gonna say some of the weirdest here.
Go ahead.
Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Gunk Shot, Psychic, Rock Blast, Seed Bomb, Signal Beam, Thunder Wave, Acid Spray, Bullet Seed, Charge Beam. Fucking.
Oh, the one that broke.
Look at this. Yeah, Incinerate. That one, I nearly snapped in half on that one.
Why?
Smackdown. String Shot.
Yeah.
Sunny Day.
What are the strings it is shooting?
I don't want to guess. This thing's got some wild moves, and that's not even all of them. Double Edge. Like, yeah, this fish is gonna tackle me like a linebacker.
It's like a gun. It's the little gunfish that can do literally everything. Yeah. Okay. Tangent aside. Another awkward thing here is Pratyush does not know how to make a defensive backbone.
He also doesn't know how to draft special attackers.
That's true too. You've got a Smoochum, and you've got Remoraid, and those are your special attackers.
That probably should have been a 2.
Yeah, that probably should have been 2.
But we were trying to be generous for what it's worth. On everyone, we tried to be a bit generous.
Yes.
Points we gave out.
There's a reason there's very few ones. But again, the lack of backbone is a serious issue here. When your entire backbone is resting on, like, a Grimer, you fucked up. And the issue is, Pratyush has drafted Hyper Offense before. This isn't Hyper Offense. This is Super Offense, if you catch my meaning. It's like all offense, but kind of slower and a little bit clunkier. But it has more bulk. It's a little different, you know? Am I making any sense?
Yes, I would say you are.
Okay. It luckily has some type diversity. It gets some special sauce points because it has some Pokemon that I think are attractive and have a good place, and it adds an electric type, which is worth points. You get points. You get secret sauce points just for having an electric type on your team, by the way. Wink, wink. So there's stuff here. Is there any recommendations you have to give it some thickness, if you will?
I think he was already trying to get rid of either Mankey or Phanpy. I definitely think would be solid drops. I think we discussed him picking up Corphish over one of the two.
And if you're going to do offense, if you're going to do that sort of slower, chunkier offense, Corphish kind of fits right in.
Yeah, let me just get a quick stat check on it.
You could even do like
80
Krabby.
Attack.
Krabby gets, what, 110 attack?
105 with 90 defense, and it's not even the slowest. 50 speed. You can scarf that boy.
You can scarf it. It's on my top 10 scarf list for Little Cup.
You can scarf it and keep it adamant, and it hits 21, which is ideal.
It gets agility.
It also gets knockoff, X Scissor. Some good
Notably
moves.
also has sheer force, so you can give it a life orb if you really want to.
Good lord.
Life Orb Agility Krabby is comedically scary.
Oh my god, Sheer Force boosted Crab Hammer.
Yeah.
130 base power.
Yeah, you could also, and like if you don't want to, and it's getting the Life Orb boost. If you do that. So there are options. Remoraid's cool. I don't think it's the best fit for this team for chunky offense. You can do chunky offense, and I think it could be a thing. I just want to hone it down a little bit. We need to keep moving, or this video will be 2 hours long.
Yes, please, let's keep it going.
Number 8, we have Chronoculars. I'm not entirely sure of this fact, but I think this is the first time Chronoculars has ever seen the top half of a power ranking.
I can't verify, nor can I disprove that fact.
Chronoculars team, so once again, this hazard game, man. Come on!
It gets better soon, do not worry.
The removal is Baltoy! I mean, sure, Baltoy is a good rapid spinner. It's still a Baltoy, man. Right? Like, it's a fucking Baltoy. And it's one of your 3 psychic types. Which we
didn't punish it too bad.
No.
But that was really your one big mess up on type diversity.
There's also, the hazard setting here is good. No, it's not. The hazard setting here is bad.
It's kind of Baltoy again.
It's Baltoy, and like, now you get Roggenrola.
And Trapinch if you really want to.
You get Roggenrola. What's kind of helping here is your low tiers are good. Esper, Charmander, Baltoy in particular are solid. Goomy, Roggenrola are alright. And Nickit is certainly a tier 6.
Not the worst.
It's not the worst, not the best. It is. The type diversity is pretty good. The Firewater Grass is pretty good. Slowpoke, Krogunk, Charmander, and also Morlul, Slowpoke, Shroomish, Charmander with Morlul, arguably the grass there.
I would drop a grass.
Multidimensionality is not great. I would drop a grass between Shroomish and Morlul. They're very similar. I'd probably drop Shroomish.
I was going to say that. I'm going to look for something for Shroomish. Perhaps an Aeron would help you get some better hazard game. Maybe
I could also see dropping
Bunnelby. Yeah, even get rid of Whalmer. You've got Slowpoke.
Another thing that's your offensive defensive balance is really good here.
You would want to be careful about messing that up.
One thing I would want is more sweepers, more finishers. That
would work really well with Bunnelby.
Yeah, Bunnelby, pick up a sword stance and watch everything go bye-bye. Honestly, there's not a whole lot wrong here. Just a little bit of tweaking with your tier 3s. And maybe there's a better tier 5 for you. Possibly.
Yeah, if you pick up Aeron, you might want to get rid of Roggenrola for something.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All around, this team's not bad at all.
No, it's definitely a decent draft from Chronoculars, especially round 1, pick 1, choosing Krogunk.
Yep, but he kind of recovered with Trapinch and, what was it, Slowpoke?
I believe so, yes.
We're going to keep moving on to number 7, which is ODF. Our the season 2, I believe, bottom of the rankings at the end of everything.
But the first player here to have a 10.
Yes, the first player with a 10 and a decent 63 final grade. First of all, the hazard game is good.
Yeah.
Yay! Your hazard removal is good. Staryu, Spins, Cottony, Defogs. Torchic technically defogs if you want to run that. And I think one other thing was like a technically Rufflet can defog technically.
Yeah.
Also, I should note, Fungus does absorb toxic spikes.
That's important, yeah.
Which is not nothing at all. And then your hazard setting is also quite good. Sandygast sets up rocks, Sandshrew also sets up rocks, Rockruff rocks again, and then you have Grubbin in the back to set up webs, which is really what puts the hazard setting at 7 instead of like 5. The lower tiers are not great.
Makuhita and Vanillite strike me as extremely weak.
Yeah, Grubbin's a good tier 5. Rockruff is a fabulous tier 6, one of the better. One of the best, I'd say.
Yeah, I would argue top 5, tier 6, if not top 3 or hell,
I honestly
top 1.
think we were a little harsh on his low tiers. I might, in retrospect, say like a 6 or a 7, because I think those tier 4s are pretty good.
Yeah,
Hydreigon
I would
is
definitely retrospect up that to a tier, not to a tier, but to a 6 or a 7, probably a 6.
Bagon's quite competent, Sandshrews quite competent, Purloin is a solid. For dark types, there's so few good dark types outside of tier 1. It's honestly a quite good dark type. Fire, water, grass core here, man.
Beautiful.
Fungus, Staryu, Torchic. The synergy between those Pokemon is beautiful. Staryu helps to keep the hazards off, Torchic helps to get kills, and Fungus serves as backbone and a switch on the water moves that Torchic doesn't want to take. It's so good. It is very good. And Staryu can even flip turn into Torchic. It's very, very good. The multidimensionality isn't incredible, but Staryu offers quite a bit. Sandshrews not awful, Sandygast not bad. So there is some there. The physical special balance is solid. I believe the issue was a pretty heavy special bias, actually. If I recall. Yeah. Mostly, part of that was Makuhita didn't count because Makuhita's bad. The tier 5 fighting types are so much worse than the tier 4 fighting types, it's hilarious. And then the end of this was the real issue. Fighting Psychic Dark was Purloin Makuhita.
Yeah, it's just not good.
That's bad. Your offensive-defensive balance, we actually thought you were missing a bit of offense. The fact that Fungus, Staryu, Sandygast, Cottony, all of those are quite passive. Then Sandshrew, Purloin, even Vanillite and Grubbin are pretty passive. So much offense is resting on this Bagon, this Torchic, and this Rufflet. And then Makuhita, Rockruff. And then you didn't get a whole lot of special sauce. There just wasn't a whole lot going on.
Yeah, I think most of your special points were just from us really, really liking the fire, water, grass here. I probably gave you a point for Cottony. I like Cottony.
Webs gives you always... I think Webs, we said, was always a point in special sauce. All around, this team is incredibly competent. Those tier 5s are weak. It would be the only issue I have, really. And not Grubbin, Makuhita, Vanillite.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 6, we have Gandhi. The runner-up from last year. This year ends up 6th out the gate with a solid draft. First of all, hazard removal, once again, not great. Rowlet gets defog. And
Farfetch'd Galar gets it, and so does Pidgey.
Farfetch'd Galar gets defog. Does Pidgey get defog?
If it doesn't, I don't even care. It doesn't make much of a difference.
Yeah. The hazard setting, however, is quite good. Ferroseed, Skrelp, Shelmet in particular. Ferroseed, Shelmet on their own. Probably 7 points right there. And then Froakie plus Skrelp both being able to set up forms of spikes. You get like every hazard on this team except webs. If you had webs on this team, you get a 10 for setting.
Obviously.
Easy. Another shining point is these low tiers. Very, very good. These tier 4s the value of these tier 4s carried through to the tier 5s, instant 10. Litleo, Shelmet, Electrike, so much value.
I think Electrike's the worst one there, honestly.
And
I think if he got Voltorb instead of me, that could be perfect tier 4.
Yeah. Rowlet, Mana are both high value tier 5s, especially Rowlet. Mana's alright. Pidgey's whatever. Dino is bad. Dino is almost a tier 6, legitimately. I think it's a little too good for tier 6. But honestly, it's like, I think Dino is in the same tier as Rockruff, in like the top tier 6s, is like kind of too good for tier 6, kind of too bad for tier 5. So either place you put it, it's either a feel bad or a gross tier 6. I don't know why you'd want Dino. Maybe just to check the box of fighting Psychic Dark. I don't think we even gave you a point for Dino in the fighting Psychic Dark core.
I believe the exact words were Dino's a quarter of a point, and then Moon's 3/4, and Farfetch'd was 4.
I think we said Muna was half a point, and then we rounded up to 5.
Probably.
Another place where you see a really good 9 is your offensive-defensive balance. Pharisee, Shelmet, really Volserve is rock solid, and then Snubble, Mana, and even to a degree Rowlet as secondary backbone, with also Froakie and Skrelp and Litleo and Electrike and Farfetch G giving you offense, and it's just very good. The biggest issue here, the lowest score, is multidimensionality. Once again, a lot of these Pokemon aren't super multidimensional. I think we might remove that going forward, just because there aren't a lot of Pokemon that are multidimensional.
But I know some teams did get a fairly decent score on it.
Yeah. Well, what's the highest score so far? There's a 5 from ODF, a 6 from Pratyush.
7 from Hydreigon.
7 from Hydreigon was the highest so far.
Oh, and
7 from Wolfhaley. So you can get a decent multidimensionality score. Just those few things. Honestly, Dino is really the only thing I'd want to get rid of here. Maybe Baneri?
Yeah, I don't know. Baneri and Bunnelby, I feel like Bunnelby's just better. Then you could switch Baneri out for maybe something with a bit more bulk.
I don't know if you need more bulk. I'd rather have like a sweeper, like a real sweeper.
Yeah, then just slap Bunnelby in.
Yeah, Bunnelby wouldn't be bad. I hate dogs. Let's move on to number 5, which is Sargs, a new player. Is this their first Little Cup draft?
This will be their second because of TDL. So really, their first real one, their first real draft. Playing with all the big boys.
Who ran TDL?
Yeah, it was me.
That was your league. Okay. Did that ever get off the ground?
Yeah, I think we had 4 weeks.
Okay. What happened?
I think, yeah.
Huh.
I think starting with the PST gang's always a risk.
Yeah. Well, I consider TDL a sister league, and I'm sad to hear of her demise. But
perhaps one day she will be revived. Yes, another 10. A 10 from Sargs for offensive-defensive balance.
It's just very good. But let's talk about what you really want to hear. That the hazard game is kind of shitty again.
It gets better from here on out in the top 4. I promise.
Squirtle can spin, Woobat can technically defog, and the Mime... Wait, we found out the Mime couldn't spin, right?
I swear to God it could at one point.
Maybe like lost it. I was looking at Gen 8 LC. It maybe it has it in that deck somehow.
I'll check again. I swear I'm being gaslighted by this by fucking showdown. It don't.
Gas mimed.
No, just keep going on. Just go to his Firewater Grass. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, look at this Firewater Grass is really good. Lileep, Squirtle, Growlithe. It's not quite ODF tier, but that's really good. Growlithe kind of has, it's like kind of bulky all around, and they kind of love that. Notably, Sargs is the first person to break 70 points, which is pretty significant. They were kind of a benchmark for a while we were doing rankings. All around, kind of a pretty solid team. I don't think this team needs Cyndaquil, would be my notice. And I also don't think it really needs Bidoof. Bidoof is a tier 4, and there's a lot of value in tier 4, as you've seen today. But you already have Squirtle and Woobat providing sheer sweeping power, that Bidoof really only being a sweeper, you don't really need it. It's also technically doubling up on normal types with Zigzagoon. Let's talk about another thing that's really good here, which is the Fighting Psychic Dark Core. And by that I mean the Fighting Psychic Dark Core. Mienfoo, Woobat are both tier 1. And then Dark, which is the least important, at least has Meowth A. So, did you get an answer on the Mime spinning?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Mime does not spin. I feel like I remember Rabombi Teacher spinning the Mime.
No idea.
I don't know why I have that image in my head. Rabombi Teacher Hackor?
I think I had Mime Jr. that season. No, I did not, because I killed a Mime Jr. with Cosmog.
Oh my god, that's beautiful. You spin me, mime round, baby, mime round. Okay, I figured it out. Yep, that was.
It's getting late. We gotta keep going.
Yeah, let's go to your.
I will say. I just want to mention one thing. If you want to get rid of Bidoof, pick up Ekans. It adds a ton to the team. It adds Intimidate, a poison typing. It's fantastic, and it's available.
You'd have a double Intimidate core with Growlithe. That's good.
Something to think of.
Bacon
very good draft from Sargs. Certainly happy to see it.
And number 4, by only 1 point over Sargs, we have Garret. Garret. His name's Garret.
I couldn't roll my R's, but if I could, I would have given a loud Arriba at midnight.
Arriba! The hazard game here. The hazard removal game is still bad. You told me it would be good.
You would.
Stunky as Defog, and honestly, Stunky alone might be worth 1 more point, but nah, I think 3's about right.
I think 3 might be generous.
The setting game here is very, 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 very good.
Literally every hazard in the game.
Ammonite, Shield on. Spinnerack apparently sets webs and toxic spikes, and I didn't know. And Cagnia sets spikes. Shield on is rocks. Ammonite's rocks. It's, kind of perfect.
Ammonite is rocks, spikes, and toxic spikes. Get it right.
Pardon me, Ammonite is fucking Heineko too. Also, these low tiers. Oh. It's so good. It makes me so happy.
I'm glad you're so happy.
So happy. Those tier 4s. Ooh. Stunky. Shield on. Numel's the weakest link, and Numel's good. You see, it's a very good.
It's Midnight Goose is getting Italian.
The tier 5s, you've got Spinnerack, who's apparently a god of hazards. Spoink, who is a perfectly serviceable psychic type. And then you got a rat. It's not the worst.
Pretty solid.
It's certainly a rat. The type distribution's good. The this is the team with a very high multidimensionality score.
The best, I will say.
Misdreavus, it helps, because Misdreavus is one of the most multidimensional Pokemon in the world! The cores are just okay. In general. But, once again, the offensive-defensive is very good, because Misdreavus is both offensive and defensive, as is Spritzy and Omanyte and Stunky. And then the rest of it's kind of a balance. You've got Elekid on intense offense, Machop on sort of slower offense, while Shieldon is setting hazards with Spinarak, and Cacnea's doing a funny little dance and not being a dark type.
I thought it was this entire time. And I was told it wasn't.
I think we kind of underrated this Fighting Psychic Dark. I think it should have been 7. Machop, Stunky, Spoink.
I can see that, but it is all just mediocre at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, Machop is the best one there. Machop's good. But it's Spoink, you know? Spoink is just Spoink.
Spoink,
good.
Spoink.
Good in its own right, though.
What's great about this team is how solid its heart is. And if your heart... Honestly, there isn't a transaction I'd make here. Just keep this.
Yeah, I think... Just keep it how it is.
Ride or die. Let's go to third.
Hey.
Which is my co-host, Baconater. So I'll do most of the talking. Because I also did most of the ranking. This team's solid. This is a team with good hazard game. Yay!
Yeah, baby.
Mostly the removal's very good. Natu is obviously very good. And then Bergmite can spin. For some reason, Voltorb doesn't get Rapid Spin.
I think that's bullshit.
It's such bullshit. It is the definition of Rapid Spin. It is a rotund object that is fast. But Swablu also gets Defog, and if you're bringing Swablu, you're probably bringing Defog. So, yeah, you know, it is what it is. It is.
You should expect to see Swablu at some point this season. I plan on bringing it. I love Swablu. I think it's fantastic tier 5
this season.
We'll have to see. The competition is very good this season, and there's only 7 games, but we'll see what I can do.
Alright. The hazard setting, we have Dewpider setting up webs, and then Onyx setting up rocks. And then, is there anything else I missed there?
No.
Okay, that's only 2 setters, which is why we were kind of capped at 7. But those are 2, like, perfect setters. There's no spike game, and there's not a whole lot of diversity in it, so we capped it off at 7. These low tiers are very good. It's kind of... When your tier 6 is useless, I can't really give you higher than a 9. In general. Like, entirely useless. I think Darumaka G's a little underwhelming for these tier 4s, but Voltorb and Skidoo, very good. Bergmite, Meowth G, very good. Swablu's good. Which gives you a pretty solid 8. The cores here are the Firewater Grass in particular, Ponyta, Dewpider, and then Skidoo's a bit of a drop-off, but still very valuable. The Fighting Psychic Dark's a little bit weaker, just because Scraggy's pulling double weight there.
Oh no, wait, you're wrong about that. Oh wait, no, never mind. I'm stupid as hell. I thought I had a wrong grammar.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about Meowth. Yes, wrong grammar too. And then the biggest issue was offensive-defensive balance. That was the biggest point dockage. Just because most of the bulk here is Dewpider. And I guess...
Underestimating Grimer a bit.
Yeah, a little bit in Grimer. Grimer's kind of a tanky. All around, as you can see, this is like when I was talking about DonutCat being a 4 team and Hydreigon kind of being a 5 team. I think this team is best encapsulated as an 8 team. Or maybe a 7.5. Or like 7.5, 8 team. Solid across the board. Let's move on to number 2. Which is Giant to Unicorn. Probably better known as Jaw. Who is 2 10s because these hazards. First of all, because these hazards. Can you talk about these? You take the wheel for this one, Baconator, because I just talked for a while.
Indeed, you did. So removal, you've got Pineco for the spin, Gossifleur for the spin, Hoot Hoot for defog, and I believe that's it.
Yes.
But here's the thing, Pineco, it's very consistent, and Gossifleur is very good in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
And then Setters, my lord, where do I start? Swirlix Webs, Pineco, everything in the world, Amora Rocks, and then Diglett Rocks, Marini T-Spikes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of hazards. You've got every hazard we could need, and that's a 10.
All of your tier 1 set hazards.
And type diversity, beautiful. Your other 10. I mean, what, you've got barely any doubling. You've got Panpour Marini, which isn't very important. Was that it?
I think that was it. Which is scary.
Indeed, that's honestly impressive that you could build a team with such little type diversity.
So much type diversity.
Or so much type diversity, yes. I'm getting a bit tired, but a very good overall team. It's just that gosh darn multidimensionality just keeps coming up. Which is really the only thing keeping them back from being number 1. These Pokemon do one thing. And we looked at it for a while, and yeah, they do one thing.
Almost all of them. A Drowsy was the most multi-dimensional I think we came up with.
Yeah, and maybe you could run Merciless Marini, but that's risky.
Kind of Pancham, because it gets a parting shot.
Yeah, and that's always very nice.
All otherwise, as you can see, every score other than removal and multidimensionality is at least a 7. And 5 of them are higher than a 7. This team's
there's that one little 6, but in removal.
And that dreaded little 2. But
yeah, very good team and a lot of sauce points here.
Yes, there's a lot of sauce here. I don't think quite as much sauce as the next. Actually, it might have a bit more sauce than the next team.
Yeah, I think 8 was the most sauce we gave out because Swirlix Webs, Diglett Trapping, funny. I think you like Drowsy, so you gave it points. I liked the Pancham pickup. Yeah. And Gossifleur.
So we were stingy with our sauce, honestly.
Yeah, the sauce was a bit stingy in some places.
But I gave all my sauce to this next team. Because I loved everything about it. Weebo, our number 1 with a final grade of 76. Notably, no 10s. Just consistency. First of all, hazard game here. I think this is one of like 2 teams that's better at removing hazards than putting them up. This team has Ducklet to defog, Timber to defog. Did we figure out Snivy defogged? That was a thing, right?
It does.
Yeah. So you have triple defog. I don't think you have a spinner, but you have Hatena. That's right. Magic Bounce. Mwah! There's 2 Magic Bouncers in the tier. And they're held by Weebo and Baconator. And, both of those people are in this logo, if you can look at Baconator with his...
Honestly, I look like a shrimp with that dumpy.
You do. The setting's not as good. Mudbray gets up rocks, Skorupi gets up T-spikes. And maybe normal spikes. But the low tiers are just solid. Skorupi, Hatena, Ducklet is about as good of a tier 4 as you could ask for. Mareep, Skitty, Carablast is good. And Beldum, I think, is an underrated tier 6. I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying
it has 4 moves.
Yeah, but its base stat total is good. And it hits kind of hard. The type diversity is good. The cores are solid. This team is just rock solid. There's no need for transactions. Everything works. The only issue we had was the physical special balance, in that it's very physical, yeah.
Yeah, and not really a bit. It's just very physical.
Yeah, you've got Litten, which can be special. I've ran special Litten. Hatena, Ducklet, Mareep, and Snivy. It's very special. It's a very special boy. But it's got a lot of Pokemon I consider strong pickups, like Ducklet, Carablast, and Mareep's a good value electric type. There's just good value, and a lot of Pokemon I like personally, which didn't hurt. I think this team's rock solid, and it deserves its #1 slot. So let's go to stats and facts, why don't we? Because we get to be done.
And it's the favorite for a lot of people.
Yes, people love their stats and facts. So tell us about average grades, Baconator.
Well, this is just fantastic. The average grade for the entire thing being a 59.75, with basically it being almost as close as you can get Ruby with a 59.5 and Sapphire with a 60.
Yeah, right next to each other. Sapphire just barely a little bit better. They had Sapphire Division has the 2 top teams and the 2 bottom teams, and it was kind of spaced out like that. The middle was a good little hodgepodge. And it's just well balanced. It'll be. We're hoping both the divisions will be quite competitive, and I think they will be. Abra, you want to talk about Abra again, Baconator? Because you seem a little more frustrated than I do about it.
Like 30th? Come on. Do you not see its stats?
Yeah, I got drafted 27th last season, 30th this season.
I don't get it.
Jaw was the only person to score 2 10s, and ODF was the lowest ranked coach with a 10 because of his incredible Firewater Grass core. And as we mentioned earlier, Weebo is the #1 ranked coach, but didn't get a single 10. And finally on 10s, they were handed out as such. 2 for Jaw, 1 for ODF, 1 for Garret, and 1 for Sargs. And then we have 2 little fun factoids here at the end. You want to take them, Baconator?
Sure. Jamal, the only logo not containing a Pokemon until we finally get Obama in Gen 9. And Josh, only person to draft 3 tier 1s, which I certainly do not think was the case last season, but I think this season, with a lot of people having some experience under their belt, they chose like a tier 5 and a tier 4. Not tier 5 and tier 4, a tier 1 and tier 2.
Yeah, well, yeah. Or a tier 2 and 2 tier 3s, or 2 tier 2s and a tier 4. We had a bit of a discussion with that during the live stream. I can't wait for this season, and I can't wait for Pokemon Generation 9, where we'll have Pokemon Obama and Pokemon Romney. And of course, the 3rd edition will be Pokemon McCain. It'll be great. It'll be quite fun. But let's get into the awards we'll be awarding at the end of this season. And just a quick look back at last season's.
Last season, Alolan Sandshrew swept through the league, picking up, I believe, 17 kills.
I think it was...
I
want to say it was more.
It might have been 19. Best differential was Shady. He just kind of won the whole thing. I think he was plus 12.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Togepi with 3 kills, surprising everyone as a tier 6, getting it moved up to tier 5. Gandhi going from 11th and barely making playoffs in Season 2 to 2nd place in Season 3. We'll have to see where he goes this season. The most improved will only be for returning players, just as a note. Our most creative but actually good set was Grassy Seed Ponyta Galar, which unfortunately didn't get to properly work because of a 25% chance of paralysis. But it was fabulous seeing it, and he still won the battle, I believe.
Yeah, he did. That was me. I was fighting him.
Our thumbnail diva was Hydreigon.
So,
He was on there 3 times.
Well, let me clarify for our new people. Our thumbnail displays the highest riser and the farthest faller from the week, from moving between weeks. We also have 6 new awards. The best Pokemon, the best performer from each tier will get a special shout out. And the player who has that Pokemon will get a special role. I am making this up as we speak. But they will get a role that will be Tier 1 Master, Tier 2 Master, Tier 3 Master, Tier 4 Master, etc. if they own the Pokemon that wins this award. I think that's a cool little thing to do, and I'm going to do it.
That's absolutely fantastic.
And then finally, we do have one last thing to say. That's it! Go away!